Good morning, good morning, good morning. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and you are breathing. Today is Tuesday, February 13th, 2024, and I would like to welcome you all to This is Just a Thought with Stephen Carnegie. Hope everyone is enjoying their Tuesday. I guess we're one day away, I should say, for the middle of the work week. Hey, I hope everyone is enjoying it thus far. I know I am. Could be a whole lot worse, like I always say. Could be a whole lot worse. And the weather here in North Carolina, it's pretty good. I gotta say, we had some rain Sunday and Monday, and had a little bit of heavy downfall this past evening or last night, I should say. And that came in with a very small cold front. I mean, it's just in the 50s, but the wind. In fact, they were fearing that there would be power outages or whatever, or wind damage because the wind was supposed to be so severe. But so far, it hasn't been that way. Very blessed, very blessed. In comparison to that Northeast, man, they're getting hammered with snow. I believe they said New York is going to get some record level snowfalls, quite possibly snow they haven't seen in a while. Man, gotta love this winter weather. It definitely has been a winter that has thrown everyone off. Uh, Freezing rain, snow, warm temperatures because they're saying that we're going to warm up after tomorrow going into Thursday and going into the weekend. We're supposed to get near 70 again because Sunday afternoon or Sunday it got almost, I think it was like 68 or 69, but it was overcast. There was no sunshine, but man, it sure felt good outside. I went and sat outside for a minute and just relaxed. Certainly is better than that cold air. So this winter, this weather pattern, man, it's been crazy. I gotta say, it just has. So we'll see what happens next. But they're saying that hey, we're going to warm up. Sun is going to be a shining, and the birds are going to be a chirping, and you're going to be a breathing. Man, well, what in the world is the summer going to look like? We haven't got we've gotten down in temperatures. Man, I want to say maybe, well, not maybe, early January, but coming out of January, going into February, we had some pretty mild temp and some pretty good weather days, I gotta say, at least here in North Carolina. At least here in North Carolina. And Sunday, hey, we all know what Sunday was. It was the Super Bowl. The San Francisco 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Mm, mm, mm. Well, I guess you can tip your hat to the Kansas City Chiefs. They are the new National Football League champions. They won the Super Bowl 25-22. Don't let that score fool you. Don't you dare let that score fool you because San Fran, they pretty much led the whole game. Game went into overtime, and they lost. Patrick Mahomes. They're saying with this one here, what is this? This is the third time in however many years, or the second time in 3 years or whatever, they won back to back. Because last year they won and they won again. This year they were the returning, defending champions and they won. So maybe there is a legacy of brewing here. Maybe Patrick Mahomes is the GATE. I'm not a fan of that phrase, GOAT. Uh, the greatest of all times. I personally believe there could never really and truthfully be a greatest of all times because time is always changing. There's always going to be somebody better later on down the line, years from now, that'll come along and we'll call it he or she the GOAT. I mean, look at Michael Jordan. Look at the Michael Jordan and LeBron James debate. Michael Jordan was the GOAT for so many years, and along comes LeBron James, and now they're questioning and asking and comparing the two. But for me, personally, there's no comparison. It's not a slight to either one of them. That they just have two different style play, two different styles when it comes to basketball. So that's why I say that there's no way you could call someone the GOAT and say they're it forever, henceforth, forever, and evermore. It just doesn't suit well with me. It just doesn't. So we'll see. Maybe, maybe the Kansas City Chiefs are it. Maybe they are. Maybe they do have that legacy of brewing. I mean, hey, they look fairly decent. They just didn't. Like I said, don't let that score fool you. That 22-25 score, because San Fran led the majority of the game, and I gotta say that first half, San Fran's defense, they shut Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey down. Yes, they did. But of course, the second half, like always, clockwork, Patrick Mahomes started in, but he still didn't do too tough. That 49ers defense, they pretty much held them the majority of the game. And like I said, just in overtime, they just couldn't pull it out. And then they're saying that, hey, that overtime, because the overtime rules have changed. Used to be whichever team scored first, I believe, whether it was a field goal or touchdown, they won the game. Now it's one team if they score. I believe San Fran scored a field goal, so the possession went back to Patrick Mahomes and company, and they scored a touchdown. So that's that. That was the end of the game. Uh, I think it was a fairly decent game. If you like those low scoring, up and down games, I guess it was kind of good for you, but it just, I don't know. Maybe it's me, and apparently it is, because I just would love to see a variety of teams, more variety of teams than seeing the same old team in it year after year, after year, after year, after year. That's just me. I love the spirit of competition, and I'm always rooting for the underdog. So, well, like I said, we'll see what happens. Well, football season is over, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm a twiddling my thumbs. Basketball's all right. I ain't gonna knock that. It's all right. Baseball, hey, it's all right too. But I'm waiting and anticipating for August to come back around when that NFL preseason starts. That's just me. That's just me. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like me. You don't have to uh, get on a soapbox with me. You just don't. You just don't. All right, let's move along here, man. Last week, I don't mean to laugh, but last week something came up near the end of the week or right at the end of the week. The investigating investigation findings were released as it relate to President Biden and his classified documents scandal. Right along the time, right after, shortly thereafter, when President Trump was found with all these classified documents in his home, they started asking and hinting and going around and asking those previous, some other elected officials that were in office at a certain position, if they had classified documents. They asked those elected officials to please go search your homes, your libraries, your offices, whatever, what have you, and see if you have any classified documents, and please turn them over. Because apparently that was a thing, just like I said months ago or a year or so ago, when I asked the question, is this a regular thing that these elected officials, when they get out of office, they don't turn over these classified documents? They get to keep them, or they mistakenly, maybe, and that appears to be what has happened with President Biden. He may not have really known what he had in his possession. They may have been delivered by some staffers, is what they're saying in this report also, that he quite possibly could not have been privy to or had knowledge that he had. It makes sense. It can happen. It can. But that's not what got the president in a little bit of an uproar, and those in his administration and some Democrats as well. Apparently, the investigator, the chief investigator, whatever, in his written findings, he said that pretty much that, hey, President Biden, yeah, he had these documents in his possession unwillingly or unwillingly knowing or unwillingly bringing them along with them, because they found the documents, I believe, in his home. And what does he stay? Is it Delaware? I believe it's Delaware. Somewhere up there, they found the documents. When they asked him, he sat down for a 5 hour interview, and they asked him, where did you get the documents? He said, I honestly didn't know. Um, this may have been a mistake on my behalf, or it may have even been a mistake on some of my staffers that dropped some stuff off. But that's not the kicker. The kicker is that the investigator continued on and said pretty much that he wasn't going to push for any criminal trial or charges to be filed against President Biden because he was an older gentleman and he may have just forgetfully or may have just slipped his mind that he had these documents. So he's not going to hold him accountable. He said, and then they went on to, of course, the compare and contrast to President Donald Trump. They said, hey, President Biden voluntarily turned these documents over. He sat down voluntarily for a 5-hour interview. In comparison to President Trump, who refused to turn the documents over, hid more documents, and even had some of his staffers or whatever, what have you, gave them orders to destroy the documents. So there's a complete compare and contrast. It relates to former President Trump and President Biden, or then Vice President Biden, I should say, because that's where he got all the classified documents from when he was the Vice President of the United States. Like I said, he went on pretty much to say that his old age may be the culprit, not his intentions, but it just may be old age, and he wasn't going to seek any prosecution because he was just an older gentleman that may have just forgot. I never thought of it because he went on also to say that President Biden couldn't remember the time lapse of his son's death. Couldn't remember the year and some more items he called up as it relates to President Biden's memory loss, quite possibly, or flat out old age. That's been a topic for a while now. Is President Biden too old to run again and hold office a second term? And of course, President Trump, he ain't hold nothing back. He said that just further proves his argument that Biden is too old to serve. He's forgetful. He has forgetfulness. He does. Let's be honest with each other. He does. I know if you've been watching some of his speeches where he loses his train of thought, and so much so he'll flat out say, "Let's see, where was I?" And there's a pause. Certainly brings to the table the topic now with this generation and even my generation, because I've said it before. Um, I know a lot of you may be saying, well, you can't discriminate against them. They're the elderly. I get it, got it, understand it. And I will never discriminate against the elderly, because have it not been for the elderly, uh, we wouldn't be where we are at. But with that question of his age, mm, and with these findings, these release findings, and him bumbling and stumbling through those speeches, there needs to be, not only does there need to be a term limit for as how long they can serve, because that's also been a topic of discussion. Also, there needs to be a term limit. There's no need for these elected officials to be in office 10 or 15, 20 years or whatever, and they retire old and senile. I agree with that. There does need to be a term limit. Get some new ideas. Not so much that they're old and senile, but get some fresh new ideas in there. You can't continue with the old style and the old way. So it appears that many in the Democratic Party are questioning also, and it has gotten to him, President Biden, because we took to the microphone on Friday night and he blasted this investigator. He let him know, hey, I dare you call to the carpet my age. I am cognitive. I have all my faculties about me. Okay, Mr. President. So much so, Vice President Kamala Harris, she chimed in also. She said it was rude and crass, pretty much. Shouldn't have never said anything about his age. He's still able to do his job. Maybe. Me personally, and I may be going off on that proverbial limb all by myself again. There does need to be an age restriction for these elected officials. Um, I won't say it's so much the fact that when older they get, some folks get forgetful, and they're senile or whatever, what have you. That does play a role in it for me. For me, in my decision to say, yeah, I agree, there does need to be an age restriction and also a term limit for how long they can serve. But that's mainly my point. And my thinking is we need some new ideas. We can't continue to do this old style of politics where we have these patriarchs that have been in there 15, 20, 20, 30 years or whatever, and they're still doing or still have the same mindset of business as usual as it relates to politics. The world is ever evolving, times are changing, and if the United States wants to stay up atop, you need to make some changes too. You need to rethink some things. But I certainly, I can honestly tell you, like I've said, I've noticed President Biden loses his train of thought a lot during speeches. I also noticed President Trump stumbles also and loses his train of thought. I.e., a week or so ago when he was trying to call presidential hopeful Nikki Haley to the carpet, and he called her Nancy Pelosi. I think there needs to be an age restriction for how long these guys get served, and women also. I'm not going to discriminate based on gender. You may say I'm discriminating based on age, but I mean, at some point in time, you got to call it. You just do. I mean, these elected officials are in office or whatever you have you for however long, and they're making decisions that aren't just affecting those that elected you in there for this particular time and place, or however many years, or how old they are. You're pretty much implementing policies and laws that are going to affect generations to come, our kids. So yeah, there needs to be an age restriction and term limit. Just does. All right, let's go get it, man. Well, it looks like 70-year-old Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is back in the hospital again. This time they're saying it's complications from, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He received treatment. They did a small invasive surgery back in December and January. All of this was revealed. Then he went back in the hospital again. I believe that was for a week or so, and they're saying that was minor. But now we know he's in the hospital and he's going to stay in there for a week or so. He has a bladder problem with the prostate diagnosis he has gotten, and they're saying that's not uncommon. Um, his particular form or his particular complications right now he has isn't that severe. They're just trying to correct the problem. It's nothing to worry about. He'll be back in no time because they're saying in the next week or so maybe he has to take a trip, or he was supposed to take a trip to Brussels, but that's been canceled because he's in the hospital. He was admitted to the hospital Sunday evening. So what they're calling it is they're saying it was a non-surgical procedure, and it is related to an emergent bladder issue. Hmm. And they declined to provide more information, and they're saying that hey, when they asked a member of the Pentagon that was given a press briefing if he knew what was going on, could he elaborate it? He said, "No, I can't. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what's going on. He's in the hospital. Yada yada yada, rah rah rah, shish boom bah." And that's final. That's all the information I have. I have what you have. I know what you know. And of course, those political opponents, when all of this came about back in January, about him being in the hospital in December, having a surgery that no one knew about, not even in his own personal defense chain of command, they were blown away. The press didn't know. Why does the press need to know? You don't need to know. Stop being nosy. They're saying his chain of command with the Defense Department didn't know, and they're saying even the White House didn't know, and they're saying that this contradicts totally President Biden's campaign soapbox stats of transparency. Maybe it does, and it does. But whether he's an elected official or not, I feel he does, as a human being, have an understanding or a belief that he should have some privacy. Hey, that was President Biden's thing about being transparent. I don't think it was being transparent necessarily about his administration and their medical issues. certainly wouldn't think he would be, that would be the catalyst. But more or less, I think he was talking about being transparency as it relates to policies and procedures and what they're doing with finances or whatever, what have you. I don't think it was for each individual member of his administration and their health issues that could possibly put the United States in jeopardy, which, they're quick to say, and it's true with everything that's going on in the world on a global scale with all of these wars and conflicts. It does leave the United States out there, but me personally, I just think there are some things that needs to be silent. Stop being nosy. Stop getting in everybody's business. So, um, this opened the door for me to talk about prostate cancer because there may be a lot of us out there that really don't know what prostate cancer is. This past week, like I told you, I had a doctor's appointment. I'm 50 because they're saying this one, a lot of problems with prostate cancer. It starts for older men, older and more specifically, well, not more specifically because any race can get it, but they're saying that there are huge numbers for black males. So I went to the doctor, we sat down, the little talk, the little console. I said, I'm adamant. I made that sure. Not, I don't need well, maybe I do need a prostate exam, but I need a colonoscopy because they're saying that's what the numbers are extremely high for black men and colon cancer also. Now, with prostate cancer, they're saying it's one of the most common types of cancers, um, but many of the prostate cancers, it grows slow. It just does. Now, I should backtrack. I should backtrack because when I first heard of prostate cancer years ago, I said, "What the hell is a prostate? What is that?" I just did. I'm sure many of you have said the same thing, but it's a small walnut shaped gland uh, found in males that produces the seminal fluid that nourishes the transport of sperms. Now, and this is something I really didn't know. I gotta say, like I said, is one of the most uh, common types of cancer. Many prostate cancers grow slowly and are confined to just the prostate gland, but they do somehow. Sometimes it does break away and spread to other muscles and tissues and organs. Now, they saying that it normally grows slowly and it may need minimal or even no treatment, but other types are aggressive and can spread quickly, spread to those other organs and muscles and glands. Now, prostate cancer, if it is detected early, when it is still confined to the prostate gland, it has the best successful chance of treatment. Meaning, if it stays just in that prostate and it's detected early, it can be treated. It can be managed. You can live with it. But the problem arises when you don't get these screenings. If you've known me or you've been listening to This Is Just a Thought for however many years I've been up here, it'll be 4 in June. When I talked about Men's Health Month, and the key thing, of course, is diet, exercise, changing your eating habits, and all this and that, yada, 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 for whatever element that we have as men and we need to be aware of. I've always said screenings, screenings, early detection. And that's why I'm on it now. Like I always say, I would really hate to have something and it be terminal and I could have maintained it, corrected it, and continue to live, all because, and then find out that hey, it ain't going to work out too well for me, all because I postponed screenings, those routine doctor's visits. The older we get as men, we got to be aware of these things. We just do. Every little thing about our body, we have to be aware of. For women, they've been telling them this ever since I was a kid. They always tell them, hey, when you get out the shower, check your body. Feel around, look, search, whatever you got to do. Us as men, we need to do the same thing. That macho machismo mess of crap of I'm a man, I'm good, I'm fine, I don't need nobody telling me nothing. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. with these numbers for not just prostate cancer, but cancer or any ailment that we have, there are a lot of men, a lot of fathers, a lot of brothers, a lot of grandfathers, a lot of uncles, a lot of older cousins that are leaving this earth. We're leaving behind family members, whether we think they do or whether they get on our very last nerve or not. They need you there, homie. They need you there. So we've got to get on the stick. We've got to get ourselves together. Now, some of the symptoms, if you're saying, well, what are the symptoms of prostate cancer? Because I really didn't know until I started doing this podcast and Men's Health Month. What they're saying is some of the problems with prostate cancer are there's trouble urinating, decreased force in the stream of urine, blood in the urine. Yeah, that's a sign. Blood in the semen. Yeah, that's a huge sign. Bone pain. When that cancer starts to metastasize and spread, it spreads to other organs, tissues, and bones. And apparently, it is very painful. You're losing weight without trying. And of course, if you get for you macho guys out there, erectile dysfunction. Yeah, got to get on the stick. We've got to get on the stick. And there's no doubt in my mind. There isn't. Now, what are the causes? It is no clear, definite, definitive answer to the cause of prostate cancers. Doctors know that prostate cancer begins when cells in the prostate develop changes in their DNA. Now, when I say changes in your DNA, in the cells, when the cells, when something's wrong and the cells start changing the DNA structure, because I say DNA, the DNA structure of cells tell the cells what to do and what not to do. So when that starts to change, those DNA cells, the cells, the DNA inside the cells change, um, it decides to grow and divide more rapidly than other cells. So those abnormal cells, they continue living, they continue to grow, and I guess do their thing when other cells, the healthy cells, die. So the cells that are affected, they grow, metastasize, and spread. And they've changed that cell's DNA so much so the DNA, the healthy cells don't know what to do. They can't do what they are supposed to do. So they change. Now, the risk factor, of course, are older age. And with those, let me go back, with those cells changing the DNA structure, man, that's what helps spread the cancer. That's the common man's answer to it. I'm sure you doctors or some of you, maybe I got some out there that are in the medical field that can explain it better, but that's the best I could determine that it does. So when those affected cells and those DNA and it changes that DNA, the affected cells or the cells that have changed the DNA stays around and grows and metastasizes and spreads, while the healthy ones just die off, and that spreads the cancer. Just does. Like I said, the risk factors, older age, race, they don't know for some reason. Older age, if you're after 50, they're saying that it's more common for men to develop not just prostate cancer, colonoscopy cancer, other cancers. Of course, I talked to you about race as it relates to black men. They're saying that, of course, there are other races that have it, but for some reason, it just is spreading more amongst black men. And of course, like with many cancers, family history, obesity. Now, with those four that I've just mentioned, the older age, the race, the family history, obesity is the catalyst for me. That's your eating habits. That's your habits, whether you're just coming home, sitting on the couch, doing nothing, and eating up the whole refrigerator. Obesity causes it brings a lot of ailments and diseases to the table because we're not active like we should be, like we used to be. Um, you know, when I was a kid coming along, I'm going to be honest with you, there weren't too many men in their 40s or 50s that were just sitting around, lounging around. I can always remember older men being active out. I've seen them on the basketball courts running full games with young cats. I've seen them on tennis courts. I've seen them on tracks. I've seen them in gyms. I've seen them playing softball well into their 50s and 60s, well, 60s. And of course, those older guys, they were out playing golf or whatever. But the catalyst is, the thing is, they were active. They weren't sitting around grumping, pissing and moaning and eating and drinking everything in the house. They just weren't. So if I can say anything to any man that's out there listening to me that's around my age, or maybe even younger, because the startling thing with, and I don't mean to get off track with prostate cancer and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, but the startling thing is now, within the past year or so, they have noticed that a lot of young men in their 30s and females have colon cancer. It's obesity and diet. It's our eating habits. I'm not saying that it is, but it makes sense if you sit down and really and truly think about it. The food we consume, at the rate we consume, the quantity amount we consume, in comparison to those the previous generation or two generations ahead of us, it ain't even no comparison. They didn't eat like this. They stayed healthy. They stayed active. So it's time for us to get on the stick. We got to make some changes, and I know I have to. And I'm being totally honest with you here. I have to. I know I have to. My body's been telling me for a while, yo, you playing around, homie. I ain't got too much time to play with you. you playing a dangerous game. And honestly, there's no victor. Like I said earlier, I would hate to have something, and I hope a lot of men listen to me and hear this. I'm not a doctor. I'm not one of those. I'm not gonna stand on the soapbox too long, but I would personally hate, and I hope you would too, to have an ailment or disease that could have been prevented, could have been treated and maintained, and you could continue to live, as opposed to waiting to the last minute. Because I don't go to regular doctor's visits. I don't do those routine, mandatory, truthfully, let's not call them routine anymore. Let's call them mandatory meetings, because we all know once we, screenings, I'm sorry, we all know once we get a certain age, these are things we need to do, like getting up, tying our shoes in the morning. Just be honest with each other. Whether it be because of our race or family history or our eating habits, or our lack of being inactive, we got to get on the stick. I would really and truly hate to go to the doctor one day, finally drag myself in there and say, and that doctor look at me and say, this is not a good diagnosis. That's got to be one of my biggest fears. And I'm going to be honest with you. I just am. I'm going to be completely and totally honest with you. That's one of my biggest fears. That's that dope moment. It just is. And that's why now more than ever, I'm gonna be honest with you, I really didn't take going to the doctor serious. But by me doing this podcast and me talking to some folks, or me reading and reading up on certain things, and by me talking to folks and by friends and relatives that have passed on before me, that I can honestly tell you pretty much, whether it be friend or relative, we grew up together and they left this earth before me. I don't want to be that guy. I ain't going to be that guy. And I don't want you to be that guy. Think about it, man. Is it really that bad going to the doctor? It ain't, in comparison to what's coming down the pipe if you don't get on the stick. I used to go to the doctor, and I told several people this. I used to go to the doctor at the VA, the VA hospital here in Durham. And when I first went there years ago, I would sit there in the waiting room, and I would find myself looking around, and I would say to myself, sweet Jesus, this could be me. I don't mean to give you the doom and gloom, but this is the fact. This is the reality of it. This could be me. And yeah, there were some older men in there, and that's expected. But the thing that caught my eye, that caught my attention, were the amount of young men that were in their 40s and 50s that had ailments, that had walkers, that were in wheelchairs, that were in motorized scooters, that had to have oxygen tanks pulling behind them. They weren't old, they were middle aged, where I'm at right now. So I got to make some changes. Time to change some things around. I hope and pray that you do the same. The old machismo attitude of I'm a man, I don't need nobody to tell me nothing. I ain't going to no doctor. I know when I'm sick. If you know when you're going to get sick or when you're sick, you might also know when you're going to die. Ain't trying to scare nobody. Ain't trying to get nobody to doom and glooms, but come on, man, this is the reality of it. Especially us as black males. For them to say that they don't know why, they can't pinpoint why black males are at a greater risk of prostate cancer than people of other races. And each year these numbers go up. Something's off with our lifestyle. Yep, something's wrong with our lifestyle. It just is. It just is. Something's got to be off with our lifestyle. We got to make some changes. We got to do some turnabouts, about faces. Let's just say that. But yeah, when I used to go to the VA, man, and I was sitting in that waiting room, waiting to be seen, I would say to myself, "Sweet Jesus, sweet baby Jesus, this is me. If I don't get it together, you got to. You just got to." I don't know about many of you out there. I got kids. The thing with my kids now, they are maturing. They are getting to that age where they're getting ready to step into young adulthood. I have one that's already in young adulthood. I have two more that in a couple of years or so, they're going to be young adults. And I got a third one, sweet Jesus, she's in middle school. Miss Attitude. Miss, you ain't got to tell me nothing. Or if I could get, well, they're getting older. They're getting older, and they're starting to know some things, some habits that I've had and have, and wouldn't you know it, they're calling me to the carpet. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Not really. I did the same thing to my mom. Some of you out there may have your kids doing the same thing to you, and it's good for a good reason, trying to get your attention. They ain't trying to call you out just for the fun of it, to get back at you. They're calling you out because they're seeing some things and they know some things. And you know them. You're not oblivious. You're not blind to the fact. You're just not. You're just not. So, hey, I continue to pray for Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and the media and other political opponents from the Republican side. Stay off his back. You wouldn't want anyone in your business like that if you were going through something like this. This ain't about politics. It's about us as adults being respectful. Just is. That's my spiel. That's my spiel on it. Stop being aggravating. I mean, good Lord, who cares? Ain't none of your business. Go sit down somewhere. Seriously. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go and skedaddle. Screenings. Routine doctors visits. Change your eating habits. Don't go on a diet and just stop eating and think you can drink water and eat vegetables and fruits all day. Change your eating habits, man. Ain't nobody saying you got to become a vegetarian. Change your eating habits. Get more active. Get up, get out, and do something. If it ain't nothing but, man, you're sitting in front of the TV. When I first started getting back active again, I would be sitting in front of the TV and I would just get on the floor and start stretching. Calisthenics. Push-ups, sit-ups, stretch out. My lower extremities, my upper extremities. Nobody says you have to go to a gym, get one of those $500 memberships and lift the whole damn gym. Good in the world, that ain't gonna happen. You ain't been lifting weights how long? You gonna go in there? Okay. Don't do that. Might take yourself out quicker. But yeah, man, just get active. Move around. Do something for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. You know, when they first said that about doing being active for 15 or 30 minutes, thought to myself, man, 15 or 30 minutes, I waste a lot of time just sitting there looking at TV, eating and drinking cold ones. You can do a lot in 15 minutes, feel a whole lot better. You can do a whole lot in 30 minutes, feel a whole lot better. So get active again. Just like I told you about those old guys when I was coming along 2 or 3 generations back, man, they would leave out the house and wouldn't come back till their mission was complete. The women also. I've seen a lot of older women out being active too. So the bottom line for my generation and the next generation, stay active. Change your eating habits. Don't eat everything in the damn house. You don't need to. And of course, put those cigarettes down. I'm one. I gotta stop. I gotta stop with smoking. That's another contributing factor also to these cancers they're finding. Just is ain't just lung cancer. They're seeing bad habits as far as drinking and smoking for prostate cancer and colon cancer also. So we gotta make some changes. Just do. Well, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go and skedaddle. Get in that comment section. Let me know what you think. Or share this video with a male that is thinking, I can just loaf my way through life. Share it. Don't browbeat them. Just let them know, hey, this is out here. This guy here, he's not too fit. He's not one of those soapbox health nuts. Just a regular guy. Just a common man living like you that has to admit that he has some major changes he needs to make with his lifestyle and his choices. Just do. So get in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Continue to like, support, and share. And as always, thank you for listening and watching. This is Just a Thought with Stephen Carnegie. Amen.